This is the Nike Vaporfly 3. It's the successor to the Vaporfly 2, which was a very popular shoe from Nike. It has got quite a significant update in this version. As you can see, the shoe looks a lot more angular here. It's got a brand new upper. It's got a brand new outsole. You can see I've ran in mine. I've actually done about 24 miles in this shoe, and this is my first impressions. I put an 8-mile run in to break in the shoe, then I did a 12-mile long run, and then I did a speed session yesterday. In that initial break-in run, I had some doubts about the shoe. It kind of concerned me, and then as I ran more and more in the shoe, I actually had something pretty crazy happen yesterday in the tempo run I did in this Vaporfly 3. So in this video, I'm going to go through kind of some of the changes that has been made from the Vaporfly 2. We'll go through the tech specs, and then I'll give you my opinion on how this shoe feels and whether or not you should buy it at the pretty significant price point of £235 or $250 in the US. I'm James. I'm a completely average runner. I have a 3:28 in the marathon and a 19-minute 5K. So I'm just a completely average runner who's been using this shoe for a few runs now, and I wanted to give you my experience with it. As most of you watching this video are probably also just an average runner looking to get a couple of minutes off your times, and this shoe might be able to help you do that. First off, let's run through some of the tech specs of this shoe. It has a 32mm forefoot and a 40mm rear foot, giving it an 8mm drop. It has got a brand new outsole on it here, which actually has been decreased by 2mm. It's got this new rubber, which has allowed them to put about an extra 2mm of Zoom X foam in there. That definitely made the shoe feel softer for me. I've heard other reports as well of people saying the same thing. This feels softer underfoot than the Vaporfly 2, and I think that'll make it a better shoe for runs like the marathon or potentially even a half marathon. You can also see here that the upper has got an update. It's now using Flyknit, and you've got these holes in it to make it a lot more breathable than the previous shoe, and the shoe has got about 10 grams lighter. So it's actually insane how light this is, like compared to something like a Pegasus. This feels like a ton weight. This feels like I'm not even holding anything in my hand. We've now got these cutouts here in the midsole as well on the side, and on the bottom you've got a hole here. You can now see that carbon fly plate in there, which is pretty cool if you ask me. So let's dive into the structure of the shoe. The first thing we've got here is this forefoot. It's got a significant update on the front. If we take a look at the Vaporfly 2, it had this kind of black rubber design, which wasn't very grippy at all. I definitely had problems with it on footpaths and stuff like that when it was wet. This I think will be better. Definitely running in the heat yesterday, this just felt like it sucked to the ground. It felt really, really good. I haven't had a chance to run in the rain yet, so we'll see once we get it out in that. But this update here I think will be much better and a lot more grippy than the previous one. This section here is actually about 2mm thinner than it was on the previous shoe, allowing them to get that more Zoom X foam in there. As I mentioned, this does feel more cushioned underfoot than the Vaporfly 2 does. I feel like it has a more wider base too, and it's a bit more stable than this other shoe. Nike have said that the compound is essentially the same that was used to make the previous version of the Zoom X foam in this shoe. However, it got a slight tweak to give the shoe slightly more energy return. These little cutouts here in the side are supposedly to help the shoe lose a little bit of weight. As he said, it's about 10 grams lighter than the previous one. I'm not sure how much of a difference that'll make, but maybe a slight difference over those longer marathon runs. Now, on this upper here, we've now got Flyknit. I really like the Flyknit around my foot when I put it on. However, with this shoe, it's a 9.5, and so is my Vaporfly 2. The Vaporfly 2 kind of fits me pretty perfectly. This, however, when I put it on initially, I was like, oh no, I've got the wrong size. It feels bigger in here, and that was the concerns I had on that first run. I was definitely getting some slippage in the back, and it was kind of slipping up a little bit. And then initially, this tongue here is like really kind of big and rubbery. It was rubbing on the top of my foot in that initial run. Now, I did in the next two runs wear thicker socks, and that kind of helped with this. But if you're buying this shoe, I would definitely try and go to a Nike store and try this on before you make that decision to purchase it. I know it's not just me saying this, because I've seen others say that it maybe runs slightly bigger than the previous version. Just go try them on before you wear them and see what size fits you better. Maybe go a half size smaller in this shoe. It seems to be when I'm walking, I get kind of the slippage and the rubbing, but whenever I've been running in those next two runs after the first one, I kind of made sure that this was all flattened out around the arch of my foot and it wasn't bunched up anywhere, and made sure that that wasn't causing any issues. It felt a lot better in those next two runs. You've got the similar kind of heel guard here around the heel, which, you know, I didn't have any rubbing on my heel or anything like that, which is obviously great. On the top here, we have this offset laces, which we also had in the Vaporfly 2s. Personally, I'm a fan of the offset laces. I think it makes it easier to get the shoe on and off, and it gives you a better lockdown in around the foot, We have then this Flyknit here. You can see on this, the holes are massive. When you put this shoe on your foot, you can see your socks right through it. If it's a wet day, your socks are getting absolutely soaked, but also on those warm days, that's great for breathability. On those race days, just minimizing the weight as well. I think I prefer this to the kind of mesh material that is on the Vaporfly 2, which you can see here. It's a little more tighter together and there's less room for airflow, but this feels great initially. So that's kind of the shoe in a nutshell. Now let's go through my first couple of runs with it, how it felt, and my first opinions on it. So I took it out for that first initial 8 mile or so, and during that run, it definitely was giving me some concerns. It felt nice underfoot, and I felt like, again, it just, similar to the Vaporfly 2, pushes you to run faster. But in that run, I was getting that kind of some heel slippage, and the main thing was I just felt in around that arch there, I was definitely getting some rubbing up and down my arch. I do think that was because it was clumped together, and maybe I was wearing just too thin of socks, especially, you know, it does feel a little bit bigger. But other than that, it was fine. I thought it felt good, but I was, you know, if I paid £235 for a pair of shoes, I want it to fit right. So definitely go ahead and, you know, try this on before you purchase it and make sure you're getting the right size. When I went out for my second run in it, that's where I really kind of started to fall in love with the shoe. It was a 12-mile long run. I planned to go out pretty slow. My general long run pace is probably about 8:40 to 8:50. I went out in this and I did 7:50 for the 12 miles. We put in a couple of faster miles, a couple of warm-up miles, but average pace was like 7:50 throughout that run. And honestly, it felt great. I felt like my heart rate was lower. I felt like I could have ran much longer at that pace. Now, I also get that from the Vaporfly 2s. I don't think there's much difference there, but just the comfort underfoot. Saying when you like land your foot, it just feels comfy. It feels like you're just landing on a pillow essentially, and you get that spring return back up. So the long run was brilliant in it. I didn't have any of them rubbing issues or anything, and we did that 12 mile in about 7:50. Then yesterday, I wanted to take out before I did this review and kind of put it through, you know, a speed session. How does it feel at speed running at a little bit faster pace? Haven't had a chance to do a race or intervals in it yet, but I'm excited to do that soon. But yesterday I did a tempo run. So I did 1.5 mile warm up. I did 3 mile then at 6:55 pace. I've never really ran in the 6s. I've never been down that far. My normal tempo runs is like 7:20, maybe 7:30. That's what I was doing in my previous marathon training block. But yesterday I went out, and even during that 6:55 miles, I felt great. My heart rate was like 165 to 172 during that, which is much lower than I would normally have running at that pace. Again, I'm getting a little bit fitter because I've been, you know, training pretty hard lately, but also just wearing them shoes. Like if I was wearing normal shoes, I don't think I'd be able to hold that pace for that long. So during the tempo run, it just felt insane. Once I finished that run up, I opened up Strava, and it was actually my third fastest 5K. Now, I have broke my 5K PB twice in the last kind of 3 weeks. But before that, yesterday, just on a tempo run, I would have broke my 5K record, you know, a month ago. I had like a 21:30. I did them tempos in like 21:20 or something like that in this shoe, just out for a training run. I didn't feel like I was pushing myself at all, to be honest. You know, it was definitely at tempo, it was up to speed, but I felt really, really good. I could still kind of talk and get a few words out during it. I was running with a friend. So yeah, during that, it felt pretty damn amazing. I am going to wear it out on a parkrun 5K on Saturday. I'm going to try and beat my PB of 19 minutes in this shoe. I've been doing it in the Vaporfly 2 in those last 2 races. So we'll be able to see, you know, I'm roughly at the same fitness level. Will this shoe help me get a couple more seconds off that time? Now, do you need to run out and buy this? I don't think so. You know, I don't know if there's a huge difference in it than the Vaporfly 2. I don't think you're going to shave minutes off your marathon or shave, you know, a minute off your 5K. It might give you a couple of extra seconds. I do think I would prefer to wear this during a marathon than the Vaporfly 2. I just think it's a little comfier underfoot with that little bit of extra Zoom X foam there. It just feels a little bit more stable to me. However, I do think for the 5K, this one just feels a little bit like more responsive, like a little bit more go in it, and it's kind of like an angrier, more aggressive shoe than the Vaporfly 3. But I think for those longer ones, you know, I think I'll be picking this up. I'm doing a half marathon here at the end of the month. I think I'll be throwing on the Vaporfly 3. However, the Vaporfly 2, you know, they're going on sale now, and they're an amazing shoe. Obviously, people absolutely love them. So you can pick them up at a steep discount compared to the Vaporfly 3. And if it's your first ever super shoe and you're kind of thinking about picking one up, probably save yourself the £85 and go with that Vaporfly 2. I don't think you need these or anyone needs them. I do think there's a few small upgrades which make this shoe a little better. I am looking at it and it doesn't look kind of wore down at all. Now, I've put 25 miles on this shoe and it doesn't look like there's really any kind of wear on the shoe yet. This shoe, however, I've probably put 90 miles or so on, but it started to feel like it was wearing down rather quickly. Even after those first kind of 20 miles or so, you started to see some wear and tear kind of in around the heels here on the Zoom X foam. I think I've probably got another 150 miles or so on them. But it looks like that forefoot here looks a little more durable than the forefoot on the 2. So maybe these will last longer. I will keep you updated. I do have a written version of this review down below in the description, which you can check out. I'll be updating that at 50 miles, 100 miles, every 100 miles after that I wear the shoe, kind of regarding the durability of it and how it holds up. So that's my thoughts on the Nike Vaporfly 3. Go grab yourself a pair if you want. I'll leave a link in the description to get them. I'll also leave a link to the Vaporfly 2s if you just want to pick up a cheaper model. And yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please subscribe. It really helps the channel. We're trying to get to 1,000, get this monetized so I can afford to buy more of these shoes, and hit the like button. I'll see you guys in the next one.